Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhav ki Jai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 33, verse 27. Chapter is titled Activities of Kapila, but right now we are talking about Mother Devahuti. She is leaving home and she is engaging herself in full devotional service and attaining samadhi. So today's verse: nityārūḍha-samādhitvāt, nityārūḍha-samādhitvāt, parāvṛtta-guṇa-bhramā, parāvṛtta-guṇa-bhramā, sasmāra tadātmānaṁ, sasmāra tadātmānaṁ, svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ, svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ, nityārūḍha-samādhitvāt, parāvṛtta-guṇa-bhramā, sasmāra tadātmānaṁ, svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ. nityārūḍha-samādhitvāt, parāvṛtta-guṇa-bhramā, sasmāra tadātmānaṁ, svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ. nityārūḍha-samādhitvāt parāvṛtta-guṇa-bhramā sasmāra tadātmānaṁ svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ ārūḍha-samādhitvāt parāvṛtta-guṇa-bhramā sasmāra tadātmānaṁ svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ nityārūḍha-samādhitvāt parāvṛtta-guṇa-bhramā tadātmānaṁ svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ. And also the Vaishnavis. nityārūḍha-samādhitvāt sasmāra tadātmānaṁ svapne dṛṣṭam ivotthitaḥ. The word for word. Nitya, eternal. ārūḍha, situated in. samādhitvāt, from trance. parāvṛtta, freed from. guna, of the modes of material nature. bhramā, illusion. na sasmāra, she did not remember. tadā, then. ātmānam, her material body. svapne, in a dream. dṛṣṭam, seen. iva, just as. utthitaḥ, one who has arisen. Translation. Situated in eternal trance and freed from illusion impelled by the modes of material nature, she forgot her material body, just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. Purport was Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A great Vaishnava said that he who has no remembrance of his body is not bound to material existence. As long as we are conscious of our bodily existence, it is to be understood that we are living conditionally under the three modes of material nature. When one forgets his bodily existence, his conditional material life is over. This forgetfulness is actually possible when we engage our senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In the conditional state, one engages in his senses as a member of a family or as a member of a society or country. But when one forgets all such membership in material circumstances and realizes that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, that is actual forgetfulness of material existence. This forgetfulness actually occurs when one renders service unto the Lord. A devotee no longer works with the body for sense gratification, with family, society, country, humanity, and so on. He simply works for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. That is perfect Kṛṣṇa consciousness. A devotee always merges in transcendental happiness, and therefore he has no experience of material distresses. This transcendental happiness is called eternal bliss. According to the opinion of devotees, constant remembrance of the Supreme Lord is called samadhi or trance. If one is constantly in trance, there is no possibility of his being attacked or even touched by the modes of material nature. As soon as one is freed from the contamination of the three material modes, he no longer has to take birth to transmigrate from one form to another in this material world. Kṛṣṇa, everyone. So once when Srila Prabhupada arrived in a city, I think it was Melbourne, he was asked by the reporters, isn't your a movement like based on austerity? Prabhupada said no. And they said, well, aren't you, like, is your philosophy based on denial? Prabhupada said, no, it is not. But then they said, but we're about to see that we're seeing that you're about to be driven in a Rolls Royce, like you're to be chauffeured in a Rolls Royce. So what is that about? They still couldn't get the point that Prabhupada said no to the previous two questions. So Prabhupada said, I think it is quite all right. Like, they have given me a Rolls Royce. If they have given me, why should I refuse that? And a guru, like I am their spiritual master, I am their guru, so I am God's representative, and a guru should be given the best thing that is available. A Rolls Royce is okay, it's some tin, some rubber. If they give me a gold Rolls Royce, that is also like, I'll accept it. Like anything can be used in Krishna service. So Prabhupada like always taught us that mood of yukta vairagya, that anything can be used in Krishna service. And in this verse, we see that point being made, that a devotee, he does not work with the body for sense gratification. So one could think that a devotee does not care for family, society, country, humanity, and so on. But what Prabhupada is teaching us, and what this verse is saying, that a devotee takes care of all these different things, but not for his own sense gratification. He simply works for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. So he's still working, he's still taking care of his family, if he has a family, a society, if he's a member of a society, a country. So he has certain responsibilities, he still takes care of them, but not for his own personal agenda. He takes care of all these things as if it is a property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That reminded me of bhajan by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in which he is talking about that I am taking care of my family, but I know very well that these are not mine. These are just your property and I'm just a caretaker. He says, Tumi grihaswami ami sevaka tomar sukhete cheshta ekhano amar. The English translation, said in poetic verse, is as follows. You are the controller of all things this house requires. Master, as your servant, let me fill all your desires. And before that he says, body, household, servants, children, brothers, friends and wife, I consider my possessions all throughout my life. All of my so-called possessions are clearly yours. I reside within this household as your servitor. So saying that I'm still I have a responsibility of taking care of the family of this house. Like he had a wonderful house in Mayapur, Swananda Sukhada Kunja. But he has this transcendental vision where he sees that this is not just mine, this is not my family does not exist for my sense gratification. But this is Krishna's property, and as Krishna's caretaker, I have to do the best I can to serve them. So this is the difference in vision between a materialist who is a householder and a transcendental person like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So in household life, we all know that there's ups and downs, there's happiness and distresses. But a person who is always working for his own sensual pleasure, he might think that when things are going good, my family and my wife and children, they're all serving me, they're meant for my enjoyment. But if he's not properly committed, once he loses that sense gratification when his wife is not able to serve him, or he feels attracted to someone else, he feels like, I'm not getting enough enjoyment from this one, I should move on to something else. So when there's distress, a man or a woman might have this tendency that this is not good enough for me now, I can look for that happiness elsewhere. But a transcendental man, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has this vision, like by Krishna's mercy, I was given this family, I was given this household, I have been given this work, job, these responsibilities. So even if there are hard times, this is still my responsibility to take care of them. Like Krishna has been so kind to give me this particular facilities, these wonderful people who help me in serving Krishna. So even when I'm not getting my personal quota of sense gratification, that does not mean that I'm going to give up on them. Because they're Krishna's property and he has a perfect vision, he takes care of them even better. Like in my personal example, I remember when I was in the ashram, for a while I was kind of disillusioned, why should I keep studying? I was doing my graduate school, my PhD studies in Florida. So I was saying, why should I keep studying? I should just give up everything and I should just join the temple. I'm here at ashram after many years of life. But I was told by a mentor that somehow I've been given the good fortune of receiving higher education. Not everyone has the ability to come to America and then qualify to study and has the intelligence to keep studying. So Krishna has given me some capabilities and some responsibilities. He showed me how I can use my higher education in taking care of Krishna's service. So when I was thinking, what do I need for myself? I was ready to give up whatever I had in a false way. I was ready to give up my education and other things so that I could just become a devotee. But what could have happened is that after many years, I might have had those tendencies that I want to go back to material life, and then I would have been neither of of the ashram nor of the material life. Like I would have had no qualifications of either side. But because I was given that, I was inspired to have that vision that Kṛṣṇa has given you certain capabilities, it's in your responsibility to make the best use of them. That actually motivated me more to be more studious. I remember in undergraduate studies, I did not care so much about like academic studies. I just wanted to like have fun and play like with my friends and just be part of the soccer team. But because I was thinking, how much can this education serve me? But once I had that changed vision that this education can actually help me, also in a way that if you have a good education, people actually respect you. If you have a PhD, let's say, then people, and if you just write it in front of your name, there is some respect that ordinary material people give you. They want to listen to what you're saying. Or he has had some higher education, he has seen the different ways of life, let me listen to what he's saying. So in that way, like higher education can be used in Kṛṣṇa service. And also, because I knew that I had the tendency of being a householder, this gives me some impetus, like being more studious and taking care of my work gives me more of an impetus, because now I know that it's not just me. I don't have to just serve myself. I have a family to take care of. I have my parents who invested so much in me. I have something to give back to them. And because they're also devotees, it gives me a lot of motivation that I should, even though it seems like it is hard work, I want to keep engaging in that hard work, because ultimately I am taking care of what Kṛṣṇa has given me. So that is the difference in vision between a materialist who sees everything as for his own pleasure versus a devotee. I'm still trying to become a devotee, but what I'm being taught is that the things that have come in my life, if I see them as Kṛṣṇa's gift to me, then I'll be very much motivated to take proper care of them, and I would not be irresponsible. That once they don't serve me, I can just move on somewhere else. It actually helps one become a very good, what people see as a good member of the society, like one who is responsible and dutiful. A Kṛṣṇa conscious person is actually the most responsible and the properly dutiful person, because once he's committed to something, once he has taken up the responsibility of something, he does not give up based on his whims. One of my other mentors was sharing that, so he had been in a temple like all his life. He had been a brahmachari for 10-15 years, and then finally when he transitioned out to household life, he was looking for jobs. And because he did not have a college degree, he just got whatever job he could at a printing press. So he was typing. He was doing typing work because he took typing lessons in school. So it was a very nominal job. But he said what he would see in his other colleagues, that they were just interested in how to get the next paycheck, and they would just, if something would take them 8 hours, they would spread it over a few days so they don't have to get more work. But him, being trained as a devotee in the temple, he knew, his work ethic was on point. He did not know how to waste time. So in a way, he said that his bosses saw that he was the best worker they had, because they would give him something to do and it would be done in a few hours. They would give him another task to do and he's done again. So he, in a way, even in a material sense, he was the best worker that they had, because as a devotee, you're trained. If Kṛṣṇa has given you something, you take proper care of it. You don't waste time. We're not just looking to get our money and be done. We're actually responsible and sincere people, even in the material world. These are some of the thoughts I had on this point, that a devotee no longer works with the body for sense gratification. He simply works for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. And that is perfect Kṛṣṇa consciousness. A devotee is perfectly situated based on his qualifications in the spiritual life and also in material life. Also, while I was reading this purport, one other thing was very striking to me. I was really attracted to this point. A devotee always merges in transcendental happiness, and therefore he has no experience of material distresses. This is quite surprising. And you could think of this in very different ways. Does this mean that a devotee never goes through material distresses? A devotee never goes through suffering? A devotee always has smooth sailing in his life? Once you become a devotee, many people might be attracted to Kṛṣṇa consciousness or to surrender to Kṛṣṇa, because they would think that once I'm Kṛṣṇa's, I'm never going to have any difficulties in my life. But on the contrary, we see in the lives of devotees that they have actually taken great difficulties. They have had great obstacles come in their life. If you look at Srila Prabhupada's life, on reading Prabhupada Lilamrita, we see so many obstacles that he had to go through. I remember one particular incident strikes out to me when he was in Delhi and he was going door to door, or I don't know how he was doing it exactly, like he was doing book distribution and he was going to different printers trying to find them to publish his book. Once on the street he was gored by a bull, and that we can imagine, like if we had to feel that, like it would give us so much pain and bodily discomfort. We cannot exactly imagine what Srila Prabhupada went through, but we can acknowledge that that was a great difficulty, but he did not give up his service. When he came to America, he just had 40 rupees or $7 with him, and he had never been in such like cold climates. Like he must have undertaken so much austerity, and people were not exactly receptive to his message initially. We read in Prabhupada Lilamrita that sometimes he had to keep his food in the same fridge where there was meat, and there was cat food next to it. So all these things were great obstacles for him. And on the personal level, he suffered from a heart attack on the way here on the ship. Then again in 1967 he faced another heart attack. So many like bodily discomforts he had to go through. It's completely contrary to what you might think on reading this. A devotee has no experience of material distresses. So how do we understand this? Are these material distresses? Does a devotee suffer through material distresses? When Haridas Thakur, he was beaten in different marketplaces, he was given lashes all over his body. You might imagine like he had to go through so much suffering. Prahlad Maharaj, he was tormented and tortured by his father. Like how can you imagine that, a father like punishing his child? He was thrown off a cliff. He was almost fed to serpents. He was put on a fire. Seemingly so many material distresses. So how does a devotee perceive this, and how can we understand as someone who is practicing as a devotee? So first of all, we have to understand that all these are transcendental people, and because they've undertaken such severe distresses and obstacles, and they've overcome them, and they still continue to serve Kṛṣṇa, that's what they glorified. If Kṛṣṇa did not put such obstacles on their path, maybe we would not have been so inspired to see their example. This is in a way like Kṛṣṇa is showing that my devotee is so tolerant. In this verse it goes, Titikshava Karunika, he is so tolerant that even no matter what material life throws at him, he will still like ignore it and he'll continue like trying to serve me. Because that is the devotee's mood. When we get like on a practicing platform, a sadhaka bhakta, when we get a distress, when we get a bodily discomfort, all we can think of is how to get out of this situation for my own sake. Like how can I remove the pain in my body? We are body conscious. But Srila Prabhupada, all he could think about was how to overcome this situation so that I can serve Kṛṣṇa better, so that I can keep serving Kṛṣṇa. So seemingly it is the same thing, that we are both trying to negate what is coming to us. But our purpose, my particular purpose, would be to how can I be more comfortable. But Srila Prabhupada's purpose was how can I continue serving my spiritual master? How can I continue spreading Kṛṣṇa's glories? So that is the difference between the activities and the vision of a pure devotee and versus us. And I was mentioning that Haridas Thakur was given beatings over different marketplaces. But we also hear that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed his body, it was seen that he had the lashes on his back. And he told, like, when a devotee has to go through this suffering, so-called sufferings, it is actually Kṛṣṇa who tolerates this on behalf of the devotee. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the beatings upon him so that Haridas Thakur could be protected. So it's not like the devotee is alone and he's suffering and he's going through so much difficult. Kṛṣṇa is there at every step with him. And the devotee is thinking that so much distress is coming to me, but Kṛṣṇa must have some purpose for me. This is not just, this could be a reaction to my previous karma. So much more could have happened, but Kṛṣṇa is giving me so little. That is a devotee's perspective. And that Kṛṣṇa is trying to teach me some lesson, and let me try to think of what I could learn from this. Whereas ordinary people, when there are setbacks in life, they usually, what do they say? Why me? Why me? Like, why are good things happen? Like, why are bad things happening? I'm such a wonderful person. I have never done anything wrong. I always treat others kindly. I take care of my family, my country. Why are bad things happening to me? But a devotee, on the other hand, he has a completely different vision. Like, there could have been so much worse. They're so humble. Like, oh, maybe I committed some sinful reaction in the past. I must have offended someone. And Kṛṣṇa could have given me in a very severe way, but He's so kind that He has decreased this. I'm only getting a cut on my finger. I might have cut my whole hand. This is how a devotee thinks. I remember one of my friends was sharing that when she got a burn on her finger, her immediate reaction was, oh, it could have been so much worse. But sometimes other people might have been like, oh, like, I'm trying to serve Kṛṣṇa, if they don't have the proper vision, like, how come I'm still getting these, like, how come I'm still getting hurt? So this is the difference between a devotee and a common person. So we understand that a devotee seemingly undergoes material distresses, but his experience in going through those distresses is completely different than a regular person. While going through the distress, he is seemingly in a very transcendental state. This reminds me again of another bhajan that Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes. Tomara sevaya dukkha hayayata seota parama sukha seva sukha dukkha parama sampada nasaya avidya dukkha. Hardships that come in the course of your service will fill me with matchless elation. Serving you slays all the sorrows and pains from my ignorance and lamentation. So when you read this, when I read this personally, it just seems like it's completely bewildering. How could the hardships that come in the course of your service, how could that be my highest? He's saying that it's parama sampada, it's my greatest wealth. Like whatever obstacles come in serving you, that is my greatest wealth. Like, how could we understand this? I cannot even fathom that. But what the devotee is saying is here, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, that the happiness that I get from serving you, that taking care of the things that you have given for me, and by glorifying you, by speaking about you, whatever obstacles are coming, they're minor, they're very negligible in comparison to that. And when difficulties come, they actually give me more of an impetus to call out to you and think of you and try to serve you. Like Mother Kunti prays, that please give me more and more distresses. And you have been, Kṛṣṇa, oh Kṛṣṇa, you have been through us, through all the difficulties that we have had. When we were thrown in the house of wax, you were there with us. When we were relegated to the forest, you were there with us. When people tried to poison us, you helped us, you saved us. And now that we have won this battle of Kurukshetra, you're going away. Like, what is the use of all this comfort and good things? We would rather have you. So please give me all the distresses so that I can remember you more and more. Because being with you, your association, your remembrance is my greatest wealth. As for the devotee, the obstacles that are coming, the difficulties that he's facing, these are minor, and all he can think of is, because I'm getting these difficulties, I can think of Kṛṣṇa more and more. So in a way, the difficulties are my treasure. Like Kṛṣṇa is so kind, he's giving me more of an impetus to think of him. This is the devotee's perspective. And while preparing for this class yesterday, I was discussing this topic with some of my friends. We have His Grace Gopal Champu Prabhu and his wife Kameshi. They're visiting us, and we were all discussing these different aspects of how devotees face through difficult situations. Kameshi was sharing with me that she saw a very starking contrast between two people who had faced cancer and who had just a month to live. On the case, a material person, one of her relatives, when she was undergoing cancer treatment, she was in so much pain and she was in the hospital, and she was visiting her aunt then. And while she was watching TV while undergoing this cancer treatment, and all she could think was, I wish I could have enjoyed more like that, what they're showing on the TV. I was meant to do so much more, I was meant to enjoy so much more. I wish I could just not have to go through this, or I could enjoy with my grandchildren, that I could have their company, and I could eat in certain ways, I could enjoy life in certain ways. She was just hankering while going through pain. But on the other hand, there was another devotee, Shyamali, her name was Shyamali. She was around 33 or 34 years old when she received the diagnosis. She was actually preparing to have a family. She was already married. And she received the diagnosis that she has stage 4 cancer and she has to leave her body in a month. I remember this very vividly because I was also in Gainesville at that point, and she had recently joined our community, and then we got this very shocking news that Shamali has like cancer and she just has a month. But she had a completely different reaction to it. She talked to her spiritual master, and her spiritual master said, this is a very late stage in cancer, and so I don't know exactly what the conversation was. And so if you decide not to undergo chemotherapy, not to undergo medication, I'll fully support you so you can pass the rest of the time fully absorbed in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, and you can leave your body in that way. So she just accepted that. She did not even try to go for any kind of like taking any kind of chemical medication. And from that point onward, she was completely absorbed in like reading and chanting. And because it was during COVID time, we could not exactly associate with her, but she would invite the Kṛṣṇa house devotees to come to her house, and we would sit in the carport area and we would chant, and she would be sitting inside and she would be listening to us, and we'd be talking through the window, and she would be sharing her amazing realizations. Her spiritual master sent her readings and his personal message every day. And so she was feeling that Kṛṣṇa has given me such a gift that I'm ready to take this process of how to leave my body. Like Kṛṣṇa conscious movement is basically, you could say, we're learning how to leave our body in a good way, like we're preparing for death. And she felt that everything that I'm receiving, this is actually preparing me so that I can leave this world in the best way possible. Kṛṣṇa is so kind, he has surrounded me with wonderful family and friends, and my spiritual master has given me full support. What better way could be there for me to leave my body? And so that was her perspective. Okay, that is a lot of the points that I had to share. I had a few more, but for the sake of time, I would like to ask you if you have some realizations or questions you have, or other accounts of devotees, wonderful example that you would like to share. This is first Ravindranath Prabhu, then Bhagavati Prabhu.
Yeah, you mentioned devotees becoming educated like yourself. You gave the example. But Prabhu also mentioned about the Varnashram College. He said we should have the Varnashram College in all our centers like that, and devotees get trained accordingly. So how would that work?
I wouldn't feel so qualified to speak on this huge aspect of Varnashram colleges. And personally, like, I would feel like because this hasn't already like taken place, like people of my age need to get educated, so we are going to regular colleges to get educated. But how would that work? Yes, I know a lot of devotees are trying to do that, like they have Rupanuga Vedic College, and I don't know exactly like how they implement the system of Varnashram and training the people, but you could get some sort of vocational training based on your nature, and you could engage yourself in that way. But currently, seeing the lack of such facilities, like you would feel like if someone has a tendency for higher education or reading further, naturally you would have to go to a regular college or a material college and try to use that in Kṛṣṇa service.
I mean, how long are we going to... I mean, Srila Prabhupada said he wanted it done right away. So it's been, what, 40 years and nothing's really been happening. I mean, there's maybe in other parts of the world, but it seems like in the United States it's not so much happening.
I would ask, like, what disciples like you guys to see, like, why has it taken so long? Maybe Bhagavati Prabhu has something to say. Thank you for your question.
Just responding to Rabindranath, it's a very valid point he's bringing up, but it's an unanswerable question for the present association. None of us have the adhikar, the qualification to really properly respond to that question. You younger devotees certainly don't, and even somebody like myself who's, been around for a while, but I mean, it's of course it's Prabhupada's instruction, of course we should be doing it, but why isn't it happening? Nobody here is qualified to, I don't think, speak intelligently to that point. So my question is, at the beginning of class you mentioned about how the materialists, whatever resources, facilities they have, they want to use for sense gratification. Whereas a devotee, he's thinking, well, whatever resources, facility I have, let me use it in Krishna's service. But here we see Mother Devahuti, and you bring up the point of yukta vairagya, So as opposed to yukta vairagya is a different type of vairagya. But, so Mother Devahuti, she's living in a palace, and if, it's not so much explicitly stated, but you definitely get the impression that she still has a lot of maid servants and this and that. There's other people there.
Yeah.
But we don't see, she's not an old woman. That's another thing. There's no, specific dates, and because she had 9 daughters, and she had Kapila Dev, and she's still kind of not an old person. So why isn't she kind of becoming like the acharya for all the other people in the palace, and starting a Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement? She's just seems like she's kind of going into like a very personalized program of becoming focused on Kṛṣṇa and getting ready to prepare for to leave her body. Is that legit? It's because it sounds like it's something different than what you were describing.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. From what I've read and heard from other devotees, there's usually 2 kinds of devotees. One was like a Goshthiyanandi, one is Bhajananandi. There's people who take these devotees, and both are exalted devotees. They can be exalted and very highly elevated devotees. Some devotees take a lot of pleasure in being Goshthiyanandi, or talking with other people, spreading the Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement and preaching and engaging with, like socializing or engaging, and that is their satisfaction. But we also see, we have the Babajis in our parampara, like Gauranga Das Babaji and Jagannath Das Babaji, who are in the other category. They received a lot of, not just pleasure, but a lot of satisfaction, and that was their fulfillment, engaging in bhajan. So it could also be similar to that, like Mother Devahuti, like she has all these facilities, but instead of using it for spreading Kṛṣṇa consciousness, she is using it for personal, like how can she go personally, like deeply. I understand that Prabhupada wanted his followers to be more like Goshthiyanandis and to engage in like preaching and spreading the Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement. But even in our society, we have people who are not so much inclined to do that. They're more inclined in just chanting by themselves and going to Vrindavan. And Prabhupada kind of warned that don't do that at a very early stage. You should spend your life engaging in service, and towards the end of your life you can be qualified to do that. So what Mother Devahuti did seemed like that is also a very legitimate way of practicing Kṛṣṇa consciousness, where you're so focused and you're trying to attain like samadhi, and directly you're not helping a lot of people, but by your personal example you can show that if someone is interested in taking up that process, that is also okay, that is also legitimate. They can also focus on their own growth and spiritual journey, as long as they're very sincere in wanting to do it and not for showing it off, that I'm so focused and I'm so renounced, other people should respect me. As long as that is not the motive, this is also a legitimate way of focusing on one's personal growth. That is my understanding.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to say? Thank you.
I have another question, if nobody has a question. But
Yeah.
One thing, like to your question, I was thinking that even though Devahuti wasn't like preaching, she's affecting a lot of our lives. So in that way, her purity is still affecting us. But my comment was, you were saying that the suffering of a devotee is different than a suffering of a materialist. And this made me think of what Srila Prabhupada wrote in a purport. So I just wanted to share just a little bit from that. That Kṛṣṇa says that it's not that he's promising I won't give you suffering, but he'll always be there with the devotee when there's suffering. So Prabhupada says, a karmi suffers the result of his own fruitive reactions, whereas a devotee is reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord himself. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. Our orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care of him. But a beloved son of a rich man, although he appears to be on the same level as the orphan, is always under the vigilance of his capable father. So yeah, a devotee always has his father, and so it's very different.
Devotee is not an orphan, he's a beloved child of the Supreme Ruler, the Supreme Person. Prabhu, your question? Yes. The last one.
So, are there different levels of pure devotees? That's the question. The reason I ask that is because in this purport, Prabhupada's mentioning that for as long as one is even perceiving the happiness and distress in relation to the body, one should understand that they're condition. That was in the purport, okay? Also in the Nectar of Devotion, there's a passage where Lord Shiva is instructing his wife that pure devotees, they don't even perceive the happiness and distress in relationship to the body. So that's certainly one definition or one level of pure devotee. But I was also under the impression that, like this, one has an experience, and then there's how you react to the experience, okay? How you process that experience. And you just, in the class, I can't remember the exact example you made, but maybe it was Prabhupada. Yeah, he didn't give up his service. So I was always under the impression that that's also pure devotion, that somebody is experiencing, Prabhupada experienced being gored by the bull. He actually said, "What is this?" When that happened. I remember heard it on a tape, Prabhupada, "What is this?" So he's experiencing it. It's not like he wasn't experiencing it, not perceiving that distress, He perceived it, but as you mentioned, he didn't give up his service. Yeah. So it seems like there's different levels of pure devotees. Or you want to say something about that?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that example of Prabhupada. I remember another thing that was shared. Prabhupada was sharing with his disciples that there was a point where he lost all money, all resources that he had, and some of the devotees were laughing or just maybe thought it was funny in a way, but Prabhupada said, it was not. It was a very difficult time for me. It wasn't easy. So it wasn't that Prabhupada wasn't feeling emotion. I mean, we could see that in a mundane way, but you could also see that he is thinking about it, that Kṛṣṇa had given me those resources and somehow they have been taken away. How could I serve Kṛṣṇa? So his motive is different. But his feeling is still there. It would be quite artificial to think that a devotee does not have any emotions, that they never feel sadness or happiness, although that is different from a materialist point of view. But I'm kind of forgetting the point I was trying to say. Yeah, there's different kinds of pure devotees. One who has no relation, he does not feel. Maybe we can think of it in this way: when Lord Shiva is saying that a pure devotee does not feel the material distresses, his vision is quite different. He's not suffering and thinking, how could I just get out of this? And what Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, he's actually feeling elated. That it's quite complicated to explain exactly what a pure devotee goes through. But also what I understand is Vaishnavara Kriya Mudra Vigena Bhujā. We cannot really speculate of what exactly they're going through. And what we can only understand is that when we see a devotee, even if they're not supremely pure, if we see a devotee around us going through some material difficulty, we cannot just assume that, they're a devotee, they're probably not feeling it at all. But instead, if we can do something to serve them, to help them, so that is our responsibility. If we see a devotee in distress, it's our service to serve them. Instead of feeling that Kṛṣṇa is going to be there for them, Kṛṣṇa is going to take care of them, why should I do something about it? So there is something for us to learn. You could probably add something more to that, Prabhu. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening and your comments and questions. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you. You're very kind.